Hey, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, Chris Maloney once again with CWN Weekly, episode number 9, coming to you from London, Ontario, Canada. Date is Friday, October the 16th, 2020, and hope it's been a good week for everybody. Hope everybody had a good Thanksgiving. If you're watching live, thank you very much. If you're watching, thank you very much. And if you're listening audio, thank you very much. But like I said, episode 9, and it's been going. It's been pretty consistent. I've been going Thursdays and Fridays. Live mainly on Twitch, just scheduling purposes and everything else. But it is different going live on Twitch and then premiering on YouTube. But last week I found out you could also premiere on Facebook. I don't know if it's that because of the transition between the new Facebook and the old Facebook or what the case may be. But the fact is, when it comes down to it, I can now premiere things on Facebook the same way I can on YouTube. So I'll get more into that at the very end of the show there, because I've got some announcements with regards to the rest of the month, so to speak. But speaking of the month, anniversaries and birthdays, as you can see, well represented. So the Bullet Club shirt behind me, the Kenny Omega action figure behind me, as well as I've got a Bullet Club shirt on. I don't think you can see the, if I stood up, you could see the eyes, the Terminator eyes, but Kenny Omega shirt. So the theme is this. It is his birthday today. So October the 16th, Kenny Omega turns 37 years old, born in 1983. So happy birthday to Kenny Omega. Somebody else on the 16th as well. One and only Bulldog Bob Brown was born in 1938. He would have been, if I can do the math here properly, 72? Nope. 82. He would have been 82 years old, but he passed away February 5th, 1997 at the age of 58. Bulldog Bob Brown, I knew from the Stampede Wrestling days, as well as the Atlantic Grand Prix Wrestling days. Growing up in the Maritimes, we didn't have a lot of WCW back in the day, NWA, WWF. WWF was sporadic, so to speak. So I grew up on Stampede Wrestling as well as Atlantic Grand Prix Wrestling. And the fact is, Bulldog Bob Brown, I've known his name for a while now. Actually had a beer named after him as well. So that was kind of cool. But yeah, he would have, like I said, his birthday was today, but he ended up passing away in 1997. Somebody who everybody knows who it is. February. October the 16th as well. Stu Hart passed away on this date back in 2003. Hart family patriarch. He has the Order of Canada that was presented to him. Numerous Hall of Fames, the legacy through Bret, him and Hart, Owen Hart, Jim the Anvil Neidhart, the British Bulldog, the Dynamite Kid, the guys who passed through the Hart Dungeon, Chris Benoit, Chris Jericho, Natalia, TJ Wilson, Tyson Kidd, David Boy Smith Jr. The list goes on and on and on. But without Stu Hart, that dungeon, that famous house in Calgary would not have existed. Stampede Wrestling would not have existed as well. So anyways, like I said, Stu Hart passed away on this date 17 years ago, 2003. Somebody who's coming up this week, 21st, would be Frenchie Martin. He ended up passing away in 2016. A lot of people know him from the WWE universe, WWF world, as the manager, so to speak, of one Dino Bravo. So like I said, Frenchie Martin on the 21st passed away in 2016. 22nd would have been the birthday of Bad News Brown. Another Stampede reference. When I first saw Bad News Brown, it was Bad News Allen, and he was Stampede Wrestling. Went on to WWE, had that famous Ghetto Blaster, that heel kick. Of course, WrestleMania 4, the Battle Royal, Bret, him and Hart, the way that went down. And obviously he just the mean SOB that he was. And then basically when it came right down to it, he had that major feud with Randy Macho Man Savage. And he made a name for himself at WWE. But I knew him, like I said, as Bad News Alan Coach is his real name. But he was born 1943. His birthday is on the 22nd of October, but he ended up passing away on March 6, 2007, the age of 63. So into his 60s there. And finally, the 22nd, we had Taya Valkyrie turns 37 years old as well. So her and Kenny Omega celebrating their 37th birthday this month. And like I said, happy birthday, Taya Valkyrie. Happy birthday, Kenny Omega today. And that is it for birthdays and anniversaries. Some news that came out this week. Unfortunate news with regards to people passing away. So former Rev Pro and OTT champion Ryan Smile passes away. This was reported on the 14th. So UK-based independent wrestler Ryan Smile passed away. Ryan hailed from Birmingham, England, and became a champion in the OTT and Rev Pro promotions, respectively. Wrestlers and promotions alike paid tribute to Ryan via social media. Rev Pro and OTT's Twitter accounts have tributes up in honor of Ryan's life. Talents such as Session Moth Martina, Pete Dunne, Sugar Dunkerton, Tyler Devlin, and many more honored the life of Ryan by sharing memories of him. So that was courtesy of Post Wrestling, also posts made by Joey Janela, Mia Yim, TNT Extreme Wrestling. I believe that's another one over in England, the UK. But, sad because the guy was only, I think, early 30s, I believe. Just trying to find it here. I think he was 31 or 33, I do believe. But sad news for that. Somebody else who ended up passing away, former WXW champion Karsten Beck, passes away after a cancer battle. This is reported by F4WOnline.com. This is on October the 15th. Former WXW champion Karsten Beck passed away on Thursday morning following a battle with brain cancer. Karsten Pitin, aka Karsten Beck, has passed away this morning after battling brain cancer for years. WXW announced, "We say farewell to a Hall of Fame wrestler, Unified World Wrestling Champion, World Triangle League winner, Director of Sports, colleague, companion, our friend. We wish Karsten's family and Ruth, those who have walked along Karsten until the very end, all the strength in the world. We miss you, Karsten." He was 33 years old. So sad news to report. Both UK-based wrestlers, both in their 30s, but rest in peace to both of those guys there. And, it's tough because, it's different now because it's not necessarily drug related like it was back in the days where guys like Eddie Guerrero was passing away, and they have cleaned up as far as wrestling goes. But it's still sad when somebody doesn't even see their 40s. It's unfortunate. And again, we do another show here, CWN Weekly, talking about people passing away. But thoughts and prayers with their friends, family, and fans. And again, that was Ryan Smile and Karsten Beck end up passing away. So thoughts and prayers, rest in peace, guys. And we'll continue on with some more news here. So from there, we go into news of the week. And most of this, say about 90% of it, you can find on cwnonline.ca. Basically, I take the top stories that I find would work well with CWN Weekly, this show, and then basically reiterate them and then talk about them and share my thoughts as well. So this was the 9th. So last Friday, SmackDown took place, night one of the draft. New Day separated in shocking development in WWE draft. So it'll be interesting to see how this plays out. And I'll get more into the draft later on. But the fact is, when it comes down to it, it's for the first time ever, New Day has been broken up since obviously the gimmick and non-injury based. In saying that, though, I was thinking about it. And the fact is, New Day right now, Kofi Kingston, Xavier Woods, Big E, are still wrestling in the same venue every single week. So it's not like they're touring. So officially, WWE.com world, yes, they are broken up. But the fact is, they're still in the same venue. They're still hanging out, wrestling together, all this and that. And the fact is, apparently, they're having their farewell on SmackDown tonight against, I think, Cesaro. I think it's Cesaro, Sheamus, and Nakamura. I'm not sure about Sheamus 100%, but I do believe it's Sheamus, Cesaro, and Nakamura. But the fact is, when it comes down to it, it's when the time is right and basically they start touring again, whenever that may be, 2021, I am presuming, when COVID has ended. Fact is, when it comes down to it, I think would see the New Day begin again as far as a group goes. Obviously, they want to see what Big E can do as far as a push goes, as far as a singles run goes. Obviously, he was... Obviously, he is talented, and he had some luck down there in NXT as NXT champion. So he and he was a good singles wrestler, even the WWE days. When he was hanging out with Dolph Ziggler and AJ Lee and this and that. So it'll be interesting to see where they go with the New Day. Obviously, Kofi Kingston as well as Xavier Woods have been moved over to Raw. Big E is remaining on SmackDown. It'd be interesting to see if they change up his gimmick. It'll also be interesting to see whether or not they change up his music, his look, anything like that. I can't see why they would stay with the same look and gimmick, especially when the two, him and Xavier and Kofi are on different brands. But we'll have to wait and see. And like I said, triple threat, well, not triple threat, but 6-man tag team match taking place SmackDown tonight. New Japan strong results. This is from last Friday night as well. So what New Japan has been doing as far as New Japan USA goes is they've been doing different kind of tournaments. They've been doing different weekly series. So last week was the end of Lions Break Crown. And that saw basically the finals, which was Clark Connors defeating Danny Limelight to win the Lions Break Crown tournament. Guys, if you haven't checked it out, you can check it out at NewJapanProWrestlingWorld.com. Now, it's saying that was the tournament finals match, but they also have it on the show David Finlay, ACH, Carl Fredericks, TJP, and Jeff Cobb defeating Bullet Club, which is Kenta Tamatanga, Jay White, Chase Owens, Tonga Loa, and Hikuleo. I will get that name properly eventually, but those are the New Japan of America guys. So they are continuing as well. I'll get into that just momentarily here. But like I said, the New Japan Lions Break series has come to a conclusion, and Clark Connors ended up winning that tournament there. From there, Josh Barnett's Bloodsport 3 live results. I'll just bring that up here. This took place on the 11th, which would have been last Sunday. So main event saw, I'm just going to scroll quickly down to it, Moxley defeating Chris Dickinson by submission. So the rules of this tournament were this. So you had it's Josh Barnett's Bloodsport 3. So I guess it was the first time Josh Barnett did not participate as a in the tournament itself in the series. But like I said, it had to be a KO. It had to be a submission victory. That was the only way to end up winning. So Moxley, like I said, ended up going over in the main event. The semi-main had the women's tournament finals. Lindsay Snow 2-1 defeats Alex Sinkay 2-1 by submission. And then basically you had it looks like the men's finals here. Davey Boy Smith Jr. goes 3-0, defeating Josh Alexander 0-1 by knockouts. So two Canadian boys going at it there, but I'm not too familiar with Josh Barnett's Bloodsport. I know it's got a lot, kind of like a cult following out there. I'm going to have to see if I can pick it up. I know it was on Fight. I'm going to have to see if I can go back and watch it. It was part of GCW, the Collective, which I'll get into as well on this show. But Davey Boy Smith going at it with Josh Alexander is a fight I wouldn't mind seeing. So we'll leave it at that. From there, we go into 28 years ago, this past Monday. I believe it was Monday. Yes, it was Monday. Bret the Hitman Hart wins his first WWE Championship against the Nation Boy Ric Flair in Saskatoon, Saskatchewan. So you can go on to CWNonline.ca right now. You can check out the videos. It's a two-parter. Bret the Hitman Hart winning his very first WWE Championship against Nation Boy Ric Flair in Saskatoon. Kurt Henning's there as well. This was, I think it was Flair's final match before he ended up going back to WCW. Hart, obviously, deserved the win. He had broken out from the Hart Foundation. And the irony was this. So this was back in 1992. Sorry, hold on a second. Yeah, no, I'm correct. 1992, which he was winning the World Championship in basically October. And if you remember back in SummerSlam 92, he was dropping the IC title to Davey Boy Smith at SummerSlam over there in Wembley Stadium. So it was a huge year, 1992, for Bret the Hitman Hart. I do believe as well, if it wasn't that year, it was the following year that his initial feud with Shawn Michaels had started as well. So it's a career year, major year, 1992 for Bret the Hitman Hart. But again, like I mentioned at the top of the show, Stu Hart passing away in 2003. He basically is the reason why Bret the Hitman Hart, I can't say was successful in the WWE, but had a tryout, had a good look, had the backing of Vince McMahon, so to speak, in the WWE, because Vince gave him a shot. I think the backstory, it was supposed to be Cowboy Bret Hart or something like that. And if you go back and look at some of the not the footage, but the pictures of Stu Hart, and go on WWE.com and look for Stu Hart at 100 years. So if he had to turn 100 years old and look at the pictures, I think there's about 48 pictures or so. And you look at some of those photos, you can see a young Bret Hart wearing a cowboy hat at that. So yeah, it's interesting to see how his career played out. I don't think the cowboy gimmick would have worked to a world championship, but yeah, like I said, 28 years ago on Monday, Bret Hart ended up winning the WWE Championship. Yeah, I know I had my date confused because it was Thanksgiving Monday, so it was still kind of holiday. Well, it wasn't still kind of holiday; it was holiday. So, but yeah, check that out. Like I said, CWNonline.ca. You can check out the footage of Bret winning his first championship. WWE extends Thunderdome Orlando residency through November. So that was announced on the 12th as well. I'm just going to bring up the article here if I can find it. Oh, there we go. A little more organized this week. So WWE remaining in the Thunderdome for at least another month. First reported by PW Insider and confirmed by Dave Meltzer. Company has been running out of the Orlando, Florida-based Amway Center since Friday, August 21st SmackDown before SummerSlam weekend. The agreement was originally signed through October 30th with the option to shorten or extend the contract within 2 weeks' notice. The original contract called for the city to get $12,500 on any Sunday pay-per-view events, $10,000 for any Monday or Friday events, $7,500 for any days in which WWE personnel works inside the building, and $2,500 for any dark day when no work is happening. So again, this was, like I said, announced by F4WOnline.com. But yeah, they are extended through the end of November. So guys, if you're a fan of the Thunderdome, it's good news for them. It gives them a better look and feel than the Performance Center had. Obviously, they've transformed the Performance Center into the Capitol Wrestling Center. But I was part of the Thunderdome, I think it was almost a month ago. And it's a unique experience. It's, it's 3 hours. So you start at 7. You officially end it at 10. You basically listen to a lot of music, a lot of direction, get to see 205 Live happen before it actually airs on WWE Network there. And then, it's a pretty cool experience, but definitely one off the bucket list there. But like I said, Thunderdome sticking around through the end of November. New season of Total Bellas premieres November 12th on the E! Network for any fans of that. That was announced on the 12th as well. Also announced on the 12th, new season of Ms. and Mrs. premieres November 12th on USA. So interesting that you'll be seeing. I think Total Bellas goes at 9. I think Ms. and Mrs. goes at 10. Could be wrong about that, but if you look at the calendar and go to November the 12th, that's a Thursday. So it's interesting. So maybe I can't see them competing against each other, but it is 2 different networks. So you'll have to wait and see. I didn't see any times listed there, but I know the Bellas used to go at 9. Not sure about Ms. and Mrs. I do believe it was 10 though. So the guys, anyways, if you're fans of Total Bellas, Ms. and Mrs., they are coming back November the 12th. Eva Marie set to return to the WWE. Apparently this is not like the Melina story. Apparently Eva Marie, it has been confirmed that she is set to return to, probably I would say maybe Raw at this point. Her look has changed. She's a lot more defined. Looks like she's taken it a little more seriously. Always been a pretty girl, but she looks like almost a meaner pretty girl right now. She is on board. I got to say that because of the fact is on this past Monday through Raw, she was tweeting with regards to WWE and WWE Raw and everything else in the draft. So looks like Eva Marie is set to return anytime now. Finn Balor undergoes successful surgery for broken jaw. This was reported on the 12th as well. So NXT TakeOver 31, Kyle O'Reilly, Finn Balor. They went at it toe-to-toe like an ROH New Japan match where they basically just couldn't care less whether or not they were going to hurt the other guy or get hurt themselves. Well, Kyle O'Reilly apparently had some broken teeth, and Finn Balor was in rough shape. Well, basically, it's rough shape enough that he underwent surgery, a successful surgery for a broken jaw. Apparently, it was broken in 2 places. This is a tough Irish boy right here. But there's a picture on his Instagram account with him and the doctors there, looking pretty dopey. But it's good news for Finn Balor on the mend to recover. Apparently, as far as talks go, in the NXT Championship goes, it's almost like a curse. It's becoming like the days where all of a sudden you didn't want to be on that Madden cover, because you get injured or the team would drop you or whatever the case may be. But the NXT Championship, it went through Karrion Kross injured, Finn Balor, who's not on the shelf, but he's on the mend right now. Apparently, NXT Talks says basically what they're going to do is see how good he does, how good he recovers, how quickly he recovers, and then decide from there. If it comes to a point in time 3-4 weeks from now and he's still not able to compete, I can see him getting stripped of the title. But it is Finn Balor, and he is a tough SOB. And like I said, they'll give him a chance not to drop the title, to get back, and again, his promo work is great as well. So they can just bring him in the ring and let him talk on the mic, and then maybe set up something for Survivor Series weekend. So that has not been announced yet, and that's I'm looking forward to as well, because NXT, when you looked at it last year, NXT, Raw, SmackDown, are all part of that show. And I'd love to see NXT take part in it as well again this year, especially with Finn Balor leading it up, and then Kyle O'Reilly, Adam Cole, those guys down there. And Karrion Kross, I'm not sure how long he's going to be out, but it'd be interesting to see him in the ring with some of the WWE mainstay roster guys there. 2-night never event to hit New Japan Strong. So I will talk about that momentarily here, but that was announced on the 13th. Joey Ryan files $10 million breach of contract lawsuit against Impact Wrestling. I don't mean to laugh about that, but it seems like every week there's something new about Joey Ryan. He's due his day in court, so to speak. He recently sued or put up a lawsuit against 3 of the Speaking Out women, so to speak, with regards to $15 million, I believe it was. He's filing a lawsuit against Impact Wrestling for $10 million. It'd be interesting to see where it goes. I'm going to leave it at that. Why Chris Jericho almost left wrestling in 2005. Favorite match, thoughts on MJF signing with AEW. That is one of the most recent interviews with Chris Van Vliet. That was released on the 13th. 2 Canadian boys just chit-chatting about wrestling. And interesting to know that Jericho almost left in 2005, so 15 years ago. Considering the fact he just hit his 30-year mark. So we would have had 15 years of Jericho, and that would have been it. But he continued. Obviously, he had gone on hiatus a few times as far as WWE went. But he had said on the show as well, 20-year WWE career, and he was absolutely accurate about that. You think about 1999 all the way through 2019, and it might have been hit and miss a year or two, but the fact is he still was a big part of the WWE for a while. So until he went to New Japan, AEW happens, everything else. But good chit chat between the two of those guys there. Check that out. CWNonline.ca or YouTube. Just look for Chris Van Vliet. From there, how Ariel Helwani became a UFC insider. Why Brock Lesnar won't fight again. Memorable interviews. That's Chris Van Vliet as well. So 2 back-to-back interviews with regards regards to 2 days. But Ariel Helwani, another Canadian guy, and then Chris Jericho on the 13th, Ariel Helwani on the 15th. But 2 back-to-back interviews. Canadians basically just chit-chatting, and it's interesting because how famous, how popular Chris Jericho is. Chris Van Vliet gets into his mind and gets him to answer some tough questions and this and that. Same thing with Ariel Helwani. Ariel Helwani is famous. He's one of the most gifted journalists out there who will ask the tough questions, to the point he's been at odds with Dana White. But the fact is, Chris Van Vliet, Emmy Award announcer, wrestling fan, so to speak, and he had a great interview with Ariel Helwani there. So check that out. Like I said, CWNonline.ca or YouTube. ROH taking precautions regarding talent that worked at the collective. So ROH finished up their ROH Pure tournament tapings a while ago, okay? So obviously it's coming down to the finals. They are going to get into that momentarily. So they need their next set of tapings to be able to put on television. We here in Canada, we get on the Fight Network. You can also check it out. I believe Fight has it as well. ROH Honor Club, down the States, Sinclair Broadcasting, I think is the mainstay for them down there. But the fact is they needed some new shows. So some of the guys who had come in to take part were part of the GCW collective. So that was Janela's Spring Break 4, I think it was, and then Josh Barnett's Bloodsport, all taking place in Indianapolis, Indiana last weekend. Well, 3 of the guys who tested positive for COVID that had taken part in the Indianapolis shows. So when they showed up to ROH, basically they had no choice but to take precautions. So in saying that, I'm going to see if I can find the article just to see if it makes a little more sense. Post Wrestling made this article here. ROH taking certain precautions for its current set of television tapings regarding talent that worked the collective. Thursday, Post Wrestling learned that multiple sources that Ring of Honor is not expected to use any performance for its current set of television tapings that were part of the shows last week in Indianapolis, Indiana. The latest edition of Wrestling Observer newsletter, Meltzer reported that talent not being used for these tapings are being paid by ROH, which is great. When they reached out to ROH for a statement, ROH COO Joe Koff provided Post Wrestling with the following response. While Ring of Honor does not publicly discuss specific internal decisions, ROH is taking every measure to preserve the integrity of its rigorous health and safety protocol for the upcoming tapings. And then so far, there have been 3 wrestlers that were part of last weekend's Collectives events that revealed positive COVID-19 tests. Thursday, Dan the Dad was the first to note. AC Mack and Cabana Man Dan. Interesting names. So anyways, that is ROH taking precautions there. So good for them. I mean, COVID is doesn't seem to be going anywhere. It seems to be going, getting worse at times, and it seems to be attacking certain states. I didn't know Indiana was a hot spot right now, but apparently it is. But ROH taking the right precautions to make sure to keep their workers safe and make sure COVID doesn't take over the roster there. From there, this was announced today. WWE Network celebrates 30 Days of the Deadman with 4 new documentaries and The Undertaker's return to the Broken Skull session. So this I'm kind of excited about. And this I didn't realize as well. We talk about all the talks with Jericho and Lance Storm, so to speak, and the 30 years that they've had in the business. Well, The Undertaker has had 30 years with the WWE. So back on November 22nd, 1990 is when we first saw The Undertaker being led to the ring by Brother Love, Ted DiBiase in the ring, the iconic moment there. Undertaker comes out, Roddy Piper says, "Look at the size of this ham hock," or something like that, So it was interesting to see, to witness back then, 30 years ago. I remember it like it was yesterday. But the fact is, Undertaker 30 years in the WWE. So the 4 series go like this: WWE Untold, The Phenom and the Legend Killer, Sunday, October the 25th. Talk about the true story of The Undertaker and Randy Orton's epic rivalry from 2005. Then they go to Meeting Mark Calloway, Sunday, November 1st. That looks to take a look at the man behind The Undertaker. Sunday, November 8th is The Mortician, story of Paul Bearer. Basically talks about Paul Bearer, William Moody, who was the real life name of Paul Bearer, and talks about how he got involved with The Undertaker and how that all got started. And then we got 2 more. So Brothers of Destruction, Sunday, November the 15th. So 2 Return of Legends, 1 epic story for the first time ever. The Undertaker and Kane sit down for a candid discussion about the storied careers, which have been intertwined since the Big Red Machine was introduced as The Undertaker's long-lost brother in 1997. Still remember Kane ripping the cage off that Hell in the Cell there against when Shawn Michaels and The Undertaker went at it. So Kane, another iconic guy in the business there. I'd love to see a documentary about him. Just the same way with Taker, because he without him, I don't think Taker would have been as big. And then, like they had said, Stone Cold Steve Austin's Broken Skull sessions. The Undertaker, of course, Sunday, November 22nd, after his groundbreaking appearance of the very first episode. Undertaker returns for a second round of No Holds Barred conversation with Stone Cold. Deadman and the Rattlesnake cover even more ground on this all-new episode, which premieres 30 years to the day of The Undertaker's arrival in WWE. Now, I don't think it's 30 years to the actual day, because back in the day, Survivor Series for WWE used to be on Thursday. So I think it used to actually be on Thanksgiving down there in the States. But November 22nd it's gonna be cool to see Steve Austin and The Undertaker sit there and chit chat on the WWE Network at the 30th anniversary. So again, if you're a fan of The Undertaker or just a fan of wrestling as a whole, definitely check those out. But like I said, WWE Network celebrating 30 Days of the Dead Man. You can check that out, WB.com or CWNonline.ca for the article there. From there, I talked about ROH paying talent sent home due to COVID precautions. So good for them. And it's not the first time since COVID this has taken place. ROH has been taking care of their guys and their workers, and congrats to them. WWE Raw's Underground considered done for now. That was announced today. Apparently, I listened to a podcast earlier on, and it's with regards to the spikes as far as COVID goes. So they don't want to take any unnecessary they don't want to put the workers in that kind of situation where there's basically 20 guys in a room slamming the mat while 2 guys go at it in the ring, so to speak. So they put it on hold for the time being. If it comes back, it'll come back probably the same way. But until COVID is actually done and over with, or subsided, I can't see it coming back anytime soon. RVD clarifies the situation with Impact Wrestling. So I'm going to bring up this because I learned about this right before I started recording here. This was courtesy of Post. So Hannibal TV hosts an interactive Q&A with RVD. RVD had a per-show agreement with Impact Wrestling. He further clarified his situation with the company. RVD says it's not necessarily true that he's sticking around at Impact, but he was simply not booked for TV for the month of October. And then he goes on to say, his quotes there on the post-wrestling article. Basically, he goes in the very end of it, goes, and that's not necessarily true either that he's sticking around Impact. It is such a no news kind of news because I have a different situation than Katie does. And so with my situation, I'm there per show. We had a few shows ahead of us, or ahead on the list of obligations scheduled before the pandemic. And during the pandemic, nobody was running, and afterwards made up some of them. And I'm just not on the TV in October. So after that, who knows? Nobody knows except the marks that read the headlines. So that is from RVD. Make sense of that if you can. From there, we go into Paul Heyman explaining why he never publicly discussed his situation with AJ Styles. So Paul Heyman being Paul Heyman here. So I'm going to bring up the article here. Again, something I just learned before I went on air tonight. So this was courtesy of Post. Dating back to the month of July, AJ Styles has taken his Twitch channel several times, openly expressed his feelings towards Paul Heyman. Styles initially described Heyman as a liar in the following streams. So that is the gist of it, and you can read more in the stories just by searching the internet there. So yeah, basically AJ was kind of PO to Heyman. Styles would move to SmackDown from Raw, and he said he made the move because he couldn't stand looking at him being Heyman. Styles would move back to Monday Night Raw as part of the WWE draft recently. Paul Heyman has not publicly spoken about the situation with AJ Styles, and during an interview with Bleacher Report, he explained why he never touched on it. In the 50 or so weeks I was executive director of Monday Night Raw, I never discussed being the executive director of Monday Night Raw, and the reason why is because when you're in that position, you're privy to the top echelon inner sanctum of the inner workings of WWE. Along with that position comes an expectation of confidentiality and secrecy. Never violated that confidentiality or secrecy while executive director, which is why I didn't do any interviews while executive director. Won't discuss anything I did as executive director. I can hear Paul Heyman's voice as I'm reading this. Whether it's something worthy of praise or criticism, because I will respect the responsibility I had to keep everything that I did as executive director secret or confidential, whether that's in the face of criticism or praise that has been bestowed upon me. That's a lot of words right there. But anyways, postwrestling.com. Check out more information on Paul Heyman, AJ Styles, and Paul Heyman speaking why he never mentioned it in public, so to speak. And last little bit of notes before I go into some highlights for the week is this. This I thought was cool as well, but I will add a side note at the very end. So Fightful got a hold of Virtual Basement's upcoming wrestling game, which is still in development, but they get a list of the roster here. So a huge roster as part of this Virtual Basement game. Anywhere from the Ascension to Bear Country to Beer City Bruiser. You got Brian Hebner in there, referee Brian Pillman Jr., Cabana Man Dan, who I just mentioned. I don't know who he is, but I got to go and Google him after the show. Crime Time's in there. EC3's in there. Brian Cage is in there as well, if I failed to mention him. Kenny King, Ken Shamrock. Who else we got here? Matt Taven. We got P.D. Williams, Raven, Rob Van Dam. The Voros Twins, which is a Canadian group, but tag team out of BC there. Women's roster, we've got Danny Jordan. We've got Holly Dead, Eva Lise, Killer Kelly. We've got Shazza McKenzie, Tanera Conti, Thunder Rosa, and then basically pulled from the game. And this is what's going to be my side comment here. Falaba, Kylie Ray, Rich Swann, Sue Young. If you look at those names, what's the coincidence of it? The fact is they're all Impact Wrestling stars. So Falaba, Kylie Ray, Rich Swann, as well as Sue Young. Apparently Impact stepped in, didn't want them part of the game. I do believe this hasn't been mentioned, but the fact is, I think when I had done an interview with Sean Bates of the Scumbags of Wrestling, Cody Diener, we had touched base on Cody getting one of those virtual basement contracts as well. However, Cody's not listed as one of the guys who is part of the game. He's also not listed as far as one of the guys who's been pulled from the game. But in saying that, like I said, I do believe Cody confirmed that he was part of it. And the fact is, knowing that he's not on that roster, him being Impact Wrestling talent, I can't see him being part of the game, as well as, Falaba, Kylie Ray. Su Yung and Rich Swann as well. So that's unfortunate, but hopefully this create a character and create Cody Deaner as well there. So guys, highlights for the week was this. Raw highlights, WWE Draft 2020 Night 2 took place. KO defeats Aleister Black. Elias returned. Mandy Rose, Dana Brooke defeats Lana and Natalya. Reason I bring that up because Lana and Natalya end up parting ways. Natalya ends up getting her tooth knocked out. I don't know if it was this match or the Battle Royal, but she ended up getting her tooth knocked out during the night. Fiend Alexa Bliss segments. So it was kind of cool because the fact is you had Zelina Vega as well as Andrade in the ring. I always think of his name as something else, but Andrade's partner there, Garza, ends up beating them and then leaving the ring. And the next thing you know, the Fiend shows up, Alexa Bliss shows up, and they do, double moves on, now I'm thinking Angel Garza, but Andrade and Zelina Vega. So it was kind of a cool moment to see Alexa Bliss finally team up with the Fiend the way she should have been all along. Ricochet had an Eddie Guerrero tribute, which is kind of cool. So I think it was MVP tossed a chair into the ring. Ricochet ends up catching it. Ref is distracted at this point, or I think he maybe got bumped and was coming back to his senses. Anyways, Ricochet's looking at the ref, looking at Cedric Alexander, wondering what to do. Hits the mat like Eddie Guerrero used to, basically tosses the chair to Alexander. Ref turns around. Ricochet does this whole big dramatic feint. And then next thing you know, Cedric Alexander's got this like look on his face like, oh, crap, and then referee disqualifies him. And then Ricochet takes off from the ring. But it's a nice little Eddie Guerrero tribute there. And then Lana wins the Battle Royal to become number one contender to Asuka's WWE Raw Championship. So we'll have to wait and see where it goes from there. I was going to bring up the results from the draft, but I'm almost 40 minutes in. So if you want to look for those, look at WWE.com or CWNonline.ca. AEW Dark highlights. Evil Uno in singles action, taking on the Blade, taking on Kazarian, taking on Jungle Boy. Jungle Boy ends up defeating Uno by pinfall to win that match, but there was a melee afterwards, so check out AEW Dark on YouTube. Impact highlights, EC3 and Moose are continuing their feud. Rosemary and Taya. Valkyrie, Birthday Girl, coming up on the 22nd, defeats Tasha Steelz, Kiera Hogan, and then Jessica Havoc and Nevaeh in a triple threat match. Crazy Steve defeats Falaba. Call Your Shot Gauntlet at Bound for Glory. Apparently, Heath and Rhino are both in this match, and if they win, they're good. Heath gets a contract. If they lose, Heath is done as far as Impact Wrestling goes, as well as Rhino. So storyline-wise, I wasn't necessarily interested in that match until I saw that, and I was like, that makes it a lot better there. So Call Your Shot Gauntlet coming up, Bound for Glory. EY, so Eric Young attacks Scott D'Amore, Rich Swann with the save at the very end of the show. And then basically there was more Moose in EC3, which I'm kind of looking forward to at this point. ROH highlights, semifinals, Lethal defeats David Finlay. Jonathan Gresham defeats Matt Sydal by submission. So it's going to be tag team partners, tag team champions going at it for the Pure Championship. So Gresham and Lethal going at it for the Pure Championship there. So take note on that. NXT highlights, we got... Undisputed Era defeating Birch and Lorcan to become number one contenders. Gargano defeats Austin Theory. Candice LeRae defeats Shotzi Blackheart. Toni Storm defeats Leah. So Toni Storm with her NXT re-debut, so to speak. And then Damian Priest defeats Dexter Lumis in the main event there. After the match going off the air, NXT General Manager Rigo comes out, announced Gargano would face Priest for his title at NXT Halloween Havoc. LeRae takes on Io Shirai for the championship, Halloween Havoc as well. It's going to be contested under Spin the Wheel, Make the Deal rules. So, guys, you can look on that. I think it was Slam Wrestling actually had the full listing of all the matches. One of them was a blindfold match, no thanks. But one of them was Shotzi gets to pick the match, which I think would be kind of cool, especially with Candice LeRae being involved in one of those there. So apparently back in the day, and I forgot all about this, Spin the Wheel, Make the Deal was done with the original Halloween Havocs back in WCW. So it'd be interesting to see how they do it, but that is less than 2 weeks away. So we're looking at 12 days away before Halloween Havoc takes place for NXT there. AEW highlights, anniversary show, of course, Inner Circle. MJF was kind of a cool segment. Apparently MJF and Chris Jericho going out for steak dinners next week. FTR defeats the Best Friends to retain. Cody defeats OC. Orange Cassidy to retain. Hikaru Shida defeats Big Swole to retain. Apparently that match wasn't the greatest. I was hit and miss on watching that, but I want to go back and see the train wreck it actually was. Apparently, there was too many spots. They weren't just wrestling; they were trying to hit their own spots and this and that, so it didn't end up working out for them. Moxley defeats Archer with a roll up, which is kind of interesting. And then post match, Eddie Kingston attacks Mox and said he was never eliminated. So it looks like Moxley versus Eddie Kingston might be going into full gear there with Archer kind of temporarily out of the picture. So have to wait and see there. NXT UK highlights. Dave Mastiff defeats Joseph Connors in a Heritage Cup first round match. And then Ilya Dragunov and Pete Dunne defeats Walter and Alexander Wolf in the main event. Cool thing about this, Dragunov beat Walter, and he's got a title match coming up. So it's an interesting play and to see where that goes. I don't think they're going to strip Walter of the title yet, but in saying that, who else are they going to give it to? They've got a very limited roster over there in the UK. They can't bring over guys from the States, and they can't bring Walter back to the States. So what do? So we may see a new champion. But it's interesting because of the fact is they made Dragunov look strong at the very end of this. Raw ratings. So 1,855,000 this week, 0.57 rating in the 18 to 49 demo. What that translates into, fourth among cable programming for the night. AEW 826.30 rating at 18 to 49 demo, 15th among cable programming for the night. And then the cool thing is post wrestling has the ability to get Canadian viewership as well. So I think this is cool. 81,600 viewers on TSN2. 55,600 of those viewers are in the 25 to 54 ratio. So I guess that's pretty good. It's different from the 18 to 49, but I guess it's our Canadian system here. But they are the fifth most watched sports broadcast of the night, which is kind of cool because I think they were up against a World Series baseball, and then I think soccer or something like that was on as well. So yeah, not too bad. I mean, about 1/10 of the viewership down the States, but still, it is kind of cool to see the Canadian stats there. NXT 651 for the night, 0.17 rating in the 18 to 49. 51st among cable programming. That is insane. So you got AEW with a 0.3 rating. Like I said, NXT with a 0.17 rating, but the 15th to the 51st. I mean, NXT's got some work to do. SmackDown tonight. We have got season premiere for SmackDown on Fox. Reigns versus Strowman for the Universal Championship. New Day farewell. Street Profits versus Ziggler and Rude for the tag titles. And Daniel Bryan enters the Thunderdome for the very first time. Stone Cold Steve Austin, David Ortiz at that Big Papi. George Kittle to appear on the season premiere SmackDown kickoff show tonight. That is on right now, I do believe. 205 live preview. We've got Isaiah Swerve Scott taking on Brian Kendrick. Davare with the Dinero division taking place once again. NJPW Strong. I actually said it right this week. Strong preview has Never Night 1. So there's going to be a series of Never Night 1, Never Night 2. Again, and New Japan Pro Wrestling America continuing their series. Like I said, Lions breaking it last week. But tonight, you've got Jeff Cobb, David Finlay taking on the Bullet Club, which is Kenta and Chase Owens. That is available to anybody with a subscription to New Japan Pro Wrestling World. And that is the main event for that one there. And then Major League Wrestling, MLW Underground Preview. Norman Smiley taking on Kenzo Suzuki. Obviously, this is old school stuff. And then you got the Samoan Island Tribe, which was Samu and Mana, taking on Los Maximos. So you can check that out. 6:05 tomorrow Eastern on YouTube. And then I think they're on DAZN as well. I think it's 9 p.m. I think tomorrow. But the easiest way to do it is to check out YouTube, be able to see the footage there. It is kind of cool because a lot of the old ECW talent is part of it. And Steve Corino is part of it, Canadian boy, who I've had the honor of interviewing. And then CM Punk is part of it as well. So check that out if you have a chance tomorrow night. I'm going to do MMA first, and I'm going to go into New Japan. And New Japan is going to be relatively quick this week, simply because of the fact that we are down to 2 events left for a CLIMAX 30, the tournament there. So Mixed Martial Arts, One Reign of Destinies 2 took place earlier today. You can check out the full show, cwnonline.ca. It is good. It was about 3.5 hours in length. But if you're a fan of Mixed Martial Arts, check out One Championship, so One Reign of Destinies 2. As well as UFC Fight Night. Ortega versus the Korean Zombie takes place tomorrow. Main card 7 p.m. TSN 5 for free if you have a TSM subscription, and why don't you if you don't? And then prelims take place 4 p.m. Main event is number 2 ranked Brian Ortega taking on number 4 ranked Chan Sung Jung otherwise known as Korean Zombie, and a featherweight belt. So main event, like I said, main card, like I said, 7 o'clock tomorrow, TSN 5, and then prelims tomorrow, 4 o'clock for free if you have TSN. 4 o'clock for the prelims. So check that out tomorrow. So guys, I am very excited about this because the cool thing is living here in Canada, living here in North America. It's tough, but it's great, and it's what am I trying to say? New Japan Pro Wrestling happens usually about 6-7 o'clock at night over there in Japan. For us though, here in Canada, normally it's like a 3, 4, 5 o'clock in the morning type thing. And in saying that, it's cool if you're an all-nighter because you get to watch it, but you're tired, right? But the fact is, if you actually go to bed and then wake up, it's the first thing you see the very next morning. So you can check out the highlights, you can see the results and everything else. And the cool thing is that's what I woke up to this morning. So night 17, I got to see basically what had happened. So I thought I had it in my here we go. So what it had come down to is this. In night 17, you had Ibushi, Okada, White, and Ospreay. So basically, Ibushi had the ability to get 14 points. Okada ended up the ability of 14 points. White with 14 points, and Ospreay had the potential of getting 12 points. Ibushi was facing Taichi, Okada taking on Ospreay, White taking on Ishii, and then Ospreay taking on Okada as well. But the problem is Ospreay had no chance at all to win because he was eliminated due to the loss to Ibushi earlier on in the tournament. So coming down to it, the coolest thing was Will Ospreay turned on Okada this morning. So Chaos members and B. Priestley was part of it as well. There was another member who I'm unfamiliar with. You can check that out, CWNonline.ca or New Japan, 1972.com. But the fact is, Okada got beat up by Ospreay. Ospreay ends up beating Okada, which basically eliminated Okada in this match. So Ospreay gets the win over Okada there. Kind of played dumb, kind of was like, what the heck just happened? But to know there's Okada versus Ospreay feud on the horizon excites me. You've got basically the god of New Japan Pro Wrestling versus Ospreay, who is basically the greatest wrestler in the world today, as far as me personally saying that goes. Then all of a sudden you've got Jay White. So essentially it comes into Jay White and basically Ibushi. Jay White had to face Ishii, which would have been an easy win, except for the fact it's Ishii, who's one of the smallest, toughest guys that New Japan Pro Wrestling has ever seen. Well, Jay White loses to Ishii, and because Ibushi ends up beating Taichi, Ibushi ends up winning the A block. So Kota Ibushi going on to the finals, which takes place Sunday, I believe. I'm just going to confirm this through my my own website here. So CWNonline.ca. Again, if you go to CWNonline.ca, go to the very end where it says hashtag G130. You can see the final standings for A block. Kota Ibushi, obviously, with the 14 points. He wins it. Tomorrow morning, you have standings for the B blocker, which is going to be completed as well. I'll get into scenario there in a second. But Saturday, October 17th, you have night 18, 4 a.m. Eastern Time, New Japan World. That's night 18, so that's B block finals. And then Sunday, October the 18th, so this coming Sunday, all taking place Sumo Hall, by the way, in Tokyo, Japan. 2 a.m. on Sunday is the finals for CLIMAX. Winner goes on to, looks like, face Tetsuya Naito for the dual championship, unless he just puts the one on the line, but that has yet to be announced. So either way, it's going to come down to Ibushi, or, like I was just saying, is this. So the standings in the B block are this. You know what? I'll just go down to my highlight notes here. Naito has the potential 14 points. Evil has the potential 14 points. Sonata has the potential 12 points. ZSJ, so Zack Sabre Jr., has the potential 12 points as well. So you've got Naito facing Kenta, Evil facing Sonata, and this is happening tomorrow morning, by the way. Sonata facing Evil, obviously, and ZSJ facing Tanahashi. Now, ZSJ, so Zack Sabre Jr., has been eliminated due to losses to Naito and Sonata. So the scenario is that, wow, that sounded loud all of a sudden. The scenario is this. If Naito and Evil both win, they both go to 14. But because of the fact Evil beat Naito, and night 14, Evil will win the B block. So even if Naito wins, if Evil wins the tournament. So easy to put it that way is the fact is if Evil wins, he wins the tournament. If Kenta beats Naito, Naito remains at 12. But he's basically going to be eliminated due to losses to Evil and Sonata. So Naito is done if basically he loses. He's got no chance in the world. Sonata beats, this is where it gets interesting. If Sonata beats Evil, Evil remains at 12. Sonata goes to 12. Sonata has beaten both Evil and Naito. Sonata would win the B block. So, see, and I'm kind of getting goosebumps about this. I love New Japan Pro Wrestling. But the fact is, when it comes down to it, if Evil loses, if Naito loses, which means Sonata wins the whole thing. So it would come down to Sonata, who is long overdue for that championship, going against Kota Ibushi, who somebody else is long overdue for that championship. So it could come down to Ibushi and Evil. Could come down to Ibushi and Naito. Could come down to Ibushi, and that would be interesting as well. So you've got basically prelude right there to Wrestle Kingdom, or it could come down to Ibushi and Sonata. So as a New Japan Pro Wrestling fan, as somebody who loves the scene over there and has for a long while now, I want to see Sonata versus Ibushi in the finals, A block versus B block. So again, guys, like I said, you are looking at Saturday, October the 17th, tomorrow, 4 a.m. for the B block finals. And then Sunday, 2 a.m. I might pull an all-nighter and have to stay up for that one. But Sunday, 2 a.m., 19, so G1 Climax 30 finals. So, guys, I am excited about it. And there is no reason in the world not to be, because I love my New Japan Pro Wrestling. So that is G1 30 in a nutshell there. And where are we at? Oh, I guess we're at Independent. So, guys, I'm going to do this, do this, get some water as per normal. I'm going to play a couple of promos here, courtesy of Sean Bates and Ryan Knight. And guys, I'll be back momentarily here. Sit back and relax. I'll be back in a sec.
Hey, wrestling fans, it's Sean from Scumbags Wrestling. Have you checked out our latest t-shirt designs? It's inspired by our friends over at London Comic Con. Nigel Lewis of NCL Studios came up with this amazing design of a comic book cover. It features 22 stars of the Ontario independent wrestling scene, including Cody Deaner, Jody Threat, Casey Spinelli, Tyson Dukes, Brent Banks, Tarek, Sebastian Suave, Halal Beefcake, graduates of the Tyson Dukes Wrestle Factory, and many more. You can get your t-shirt for just $30 or buy the poster for $15. Proceeds from this sale are going to go to Sick Kids Hospital in Toronto on behalf of Steven's Wrestling Journey. Steven's an 8-year-old fighting Chiari malformation, and they're searching for a cure. You can contact me either through our Facebook page, Scumbags Wrestling, or email me at scumbagswrestling@gmail.com. Get yourself a great t-shirt with an amazing design and help a wonderful cause at the same time. So contact me today and get your shirt or poster.
Are you a pro wrestling fan? Do you want the latest info on shows and the stars that appear throughout Ontario? Are you looking for information and insight into the independent wrestling scene? Want interviews and information on the big leagues? Then you want Knights of the Squared Circle with Ryan Knight on Coyote 103. Ryan has his finger on the pulse of wrestling in Ontario on every level, and he brings that to you every Sunday at noon. Listen for your wrestling fix with Ryan Knight and Knights of the Squared Circle, Sunday at noon, only on Coyote 103.
Hey guys, welcome back. So again, as you can see that hashtag on the screen there, hashtag we are CIW. You can check out cwnonline.ca. At the very end, you can hit that hashtag there, take you to our official Facebook group, as well as you can see the Facebook group down below there, facebook.com/groups/Canadian Independent Wrestling. You can check us out there. I'm just going to do a quick check to see how many members we have. Like I said, the goal is to get to 400 by the end of the year. We are at right now 356. So Again, only 44 members away from hitting that 400 mark before the end of the year. So, guys, if you're a fan of Canadian independent wrestling, check us out, facebook.com/groups/Canadian independent wrestling, or go to cwnonline.ca and hit that hashtags We Are CIW. It'll take you to the group as well. So this is the portion of the show we get into some independent wrestling. Thanks to the promos by Sean Bates, as always, and Ryan Knight for Knights of the Squared Circle, as well as Scumbags of Wrestling. And Sean's shirt there for Steven's Wrestling Journey for the Sick Kids Hospital in Toronto. Always a great cause. And again, for Sean's group, facebook.com/groups/Scumbags of Wrestling. That's the best way to be able to find him. So events taking place. RCW Friday Night Fights, October 16th, 30th in Calgary, Alberta. RCW Saturday Night Fights, October 17th, 24th, 31st in Edmonton, Alberta. NSW presents Next Level Sunday, November 1st, first ever iPay-per-view. Free pre-show begins at 3:15 Eastern. You can check them out. NSW on Facebook, or New School Wrestling is the official name for NSW. The one I'm going to mention last is this. So Alpha One Wrestling had put out an announcement saying they're going to present Ruckus on Sunday, October the 18th in Oshawa, Ontario. Well, they announced on Twitter today, this event is canceled. If you purchase tickets to the event, you can be refunded via telephone number, text or call ASAP. We're sorry to get people excited. We can't take any unnecessary risks during these extremely unique times. No more A1 events will be held in 2020. Sorry. So, guys, to me, they've made the right decision. They've canceled the event. They were supposed to have live fans. Ontario, parts of it are back in stage 2. It's the biggest thing in the world to have the perseverance, to have the patience to try to get through COVID. Eventually, there's going to be a time where wrestling events are happening again, where the floodgates have opened, where basically we're going to have 20 different promotions to choose from as far as, because they all want to run shows of this and that. But the fact is the time is not now. And good for Alpha One, good for A1 Wrestling for not running that show there. Because it's different, because when I talk about the ones out in Alberta, they've obviously got the clearance to do so. I think Manitoba's hit and miss as well. I haven't checked the events by CWE, and that's the main promotion that's out there, Canadian Wrestling's Elite. But RCW, haven't seen anything different about them, so I do believe they're running the Friday Night Fights and Saturday Night Fights as far as the RCW show goes. And then NSW, so New School Wrestling, they're doing it without fans, so it's a free, I shouldn't say free event. There is a free pre-show, so to speak, but they're doing it without fans, live streaming on iPay-per-view. Same thing with and I hate it, GoPro. I think it's GoPro Wrestling by Holden Albright. But he's presenting a show, I think, towards Christmas time. And that, again, is going to be all online as well. And they are doing donations through GoFundMe to get up to a certain tier to be able to present a better show. But again, that's iPay-per-view, so to speak, as well. So, if you're going to do it safely. There's nothing wrong with the online form, the online version of it right now. In 2021, we look forward to more independent wrestling. So I'll leave it at that. We are getting close in time here. SmackDown's just about to begin. But a couple more notes here. Shooting Up North Indie Edition with Lewis Carlin presents an interview with Mia Malik. And that was presented on, looks like, the 9th on YouTube there. So check that out. Again, Shooting Up North Indie Edition with Lewis Carlin presents interview with Mia Malik. You can also find that if you go to CWN's YouTube account. Go to the main page and just go to where it says hashtag We Are CIW. You'll be able to find the link in there. And then Fantasy Warfare Tournament, greatest face turn and heel turns have happened the past 2 weeks. And I have been honored to be back part of Fantasy Warfare Tournament as a guest, not as the host, which is kind of nice. But again, you can check out the YouTube account of CWN. Again, this is youtube.com/CWN online. You can check out all the Fantasy Warfare things I had produced, I had been host of. And then these past two, the greatest face turn, the greatest heel turns, have been great as well. So Sean Bates of Scumbags of Wrestling hosting, Chris Jonesy being part of it as well. But it's been great. It's been interesting being part of it again. So, but again, it's nice because I don't have to do all the headway, all the work beforehand to be host. So it is nice to be part of it again. So Fantasy Warfare Tournament, you can check that out, CWNonline.ca. You can find the links there as well, or YouTube. Canadian Pro Wrestling Hall of Fame presented by CWN, otherwise known as CPWHOF. News will break, I promise. It seems like every time I get doing a show, I'm thinking, how am I going to make this last an hour? And then before you know it, I get down to the Hall of Fame aspect of it. But I will say this. Next week is going to be a big week. So episode 10, a lot of shows coming up. An official preview for the Canadian Pro Wrestling Hall of Fame, because I can't let it go any longer than next week. So I will break down the news, break down basically the not necessarily brackets, but the categories on how you can vote, where you can vote. I might see if Sean can be part of that as well, because Sean's been a big part of CWN ever since its existence back in January of 2009. It is going on 12 years as far as CWN goes. So in saying that, I'm going to see if I can get in touch with Sean to see if he's able to be part of the show next week to be able to break down the Canadian Pro Wrestling Hall of Fame presented by CWN. So again, CPW, HOF, that is the official, I guess, anagram, not anagram, but whatever you call it, the initials of it. But the easiest way to be able to do this is to do this and then do this. So CPWHOF.ca is the easiest way to check that out. So guys, it is Breast Cancer Awareness Month. So hashtag Breast Cancer Awareness Month. You'll see it here. You'll see it on social media for CWN as well as our website. Normally all the graphics, all the banners, and everything else are red. So the CWN red. But the month of October, everything has been pink. So if you have a chance, support breast cancer awareness by throwing money to them to help find a cure. Obviously, I've got 2 sisters, 3 sister-in-laws, 3 daughters. You know what I mean? So it's always been October, and you've seen it in the NFL and this and that. And Susan G. Komen, as far as the WB goes. So if you have a chance to lend some money, so to speak, to a great cause, Breast Cancer Awareness Month is this month here. And again, Steven's Wrestling Journey as well. Like I said, with regards to independent wrestling or everything that Steven Spice does online, as far as Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, Twitter goes. You can check out hashtag Steven's Wrestling Journey. Just search that term on social media. He's got some cool YouTube interviews, scored some great interviews with guys I'd love to be able to interview myself. But again, hashtag Steven's Wrestling Journey. And Sean, basically, Scumbags of Wrestling, has taken it one step further by basically doing his T-shirt and his posters. I'm going to have those on the show next week because it's been a while since I had them. But all the proceeds from those, 100% of the proceeds from those go to Steven's Wrestling Journey. So again, hashtag Steven's Wrestling Journey or facebook.com/groups/scumbags of wrestling. And you'll be able to get yourself a T-shirt and a poster. And all, like I said, 100% of the proceeds go to Steven's Wrestling Journey there. As far as CWN goes, so I'll tell you this, CWN Weekly episode 10 comes to you live next Friday, October the 23rd, 7 p.m. live Facebook, Twitch, and YouTube. Episode 11 will come to you live on October the 30th, 7 p.m. Facebook, Twitch, and YouTube as well. And then CWN Predicts / CWN Recap, we will have 6 shows. And the reason I say this is this. Impact Wrestling Bound for Glory 2020 takes place next weekend on the 24th. UFC 254, that's Khabib versus Gaethje, takes place on the next Saturday as well. And then WWE Hell in a Cell 2020 takes place next Sunday on the 25th. So you'll see a prediction show for Impact, UFC, and WWE Hell in a Cell, so 3 separate shows. And then you'll see a recap show for each one of those as well. So 6 shows plus episode 10. 7 shows next weekend coming up to you from Friday, Saturday through Sunday. It's going to be exhausting, but it's going to be fun. So 7 shows in total coming up, as well as the official news on the Canadian Pro Wrestling Hall of Fame presented by CWN. And again, CPWHOF.ca. Guys, you can check out this show, as always, CWNonline.ca. We're on YouTube, Facebook, Anchor, Spotify, what am I missing? SoundCloud, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts. So basically wherever you listen to your podcast, as well as you can check out the video, Twitch, Facebook, and YouTube, like I had mentioned there. The official email address for the show, feedback@cwnonline.ca. That is the official way to get in touch with the show. Let me know about ideas. Let me know what you're looking forward to as far as the Canadian Pro Wrestling Hall of Fame presented by CWN goes. I might start doing interviews. We'll have to wait and see. I know there's a couple people out there like George Mackay who's just killing it right now. It's hard to compete. So, we'll leave it at that. So, but it'll be interesting to see who I can think of to maybe get an interview on the show here. But like I said, next week's going to be a big week. So episode 10 coming to you live next Friday night. 7 o'clock, Facebook, Twitch, and YouTube. And then we're going to have, 6 other shows between the prediction shows as well as the recap shows there. So again, to get in touch with the show, feedback at cwnonline.ca. You can hit me up on social media at Chris Maloney, CWN. That is on Instagram as well as Twitch. So at Chris Maloney, CWN is the best way to get in touch with me there, or the email address, like I said, feedback at cwnonline.ca. So, guys, I don't think I've forgotten anything. That is it. Like I said, huge week coming up next week. Episode number 10, Canadian Pro Wrestling Hall of Fame presented by CWN News. We'll have the prediction shows as well as the recap shows next week. Huge week, huge weekend as far as wrestling and MMA goes. So it'll be fun. So guys, if you're watching, thank you very much for watching. If you're listening, thank you very much for listening. We'll see everybody next week for episode 10. Live on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitch. So from there, everybody have a great night, and we'll see everybody next week.